Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Idaho House Republicans podcast, where you get to learn a little bit more about the people that you have sent to the State House. And today we're really grateful to have Representative Marco Erickson, and he represents Legislative District 33, and he sits in seat B, and he's in his third term. Good morning to you,
Good morning.
Representative.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. Let's talk a little bit about you. Although you were not born in Idaho, you were raised in Boise, and you have a master's degree in psychology from Walden University, and you have a bachelor's from Montana State. You are in mental health services, and I have the utmost respect. My daughter's in that field as well, and it's super critical right now. You have also been working a lot in anti-bullying, mental health, HIV, homelessness, just a lot of tough stuff, drug prevention, drug addiction, alcohol treatment. Well, we appreciate that very much. And most importantly, you are married 24 years, according to your bio. Some people have not
this year
updated
be
it in a while.
25, crazy.
And your wife's name is?
Emily.
Emily.
Yep.
And you have 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl, so that's one really well-protected girl.
Yes, she is. Very true.
Good stuff. So thank you for joining us. So the way we always start, Representative Erickson, is we want to know a little about your legislative district. So you represent Legislative District 33. So tell people where Legislative District 33 is and what people in Legislative District 33 care about, why they sent you to the State House.
Well, it's District 33, which is Idaho Falls, the center of the community. So it's really the heart of the community of Idaho Falls. And they sent me here. I have a value that aligns with them in a lot of the work I do. I'm in the community every day. I serve them every day in different capacities, a lot of boards. And so they just know me. And so I said, hey, look, I'll represent your voice there. And I've been here for 6 years now. And it's been great.
And what is the district like? Is it rural, urban, bedroom community? Is it agriculture? Like what issues do they care most about?
Well, they care about water really deeply. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big deal because, yes, it's eastern Idaho, so we have a lot of potato farms in that area. Not in the heart of town, but the whole region. So we don't just represent our community. We represent the whole region, including the whole state. But in that area, they care deeply about water. That's a big issue for them. Mental health is too, so that's partially why I'm the champion of that. No,
I deeply appreciate that. And fortunately, it has been raining lately, so that's good. But we could use some snowpack.
We're praying for much more snowpack, that's for sure.
Well, we just spoke with Representative Jason Monks, and he's creating that House Concurrent Resolution 28, I believe it is, where we're hoping to get on our knees,
I think
be humble.
Got everybody to sign on to that. I don't think anybody didn't sign on to that. So
and it started raining like the day that came out. So I appreciate that.
That's the first miracle. There'll be more to come.
Let's hope so. Well, we could use some snowpack. So talk about Representative Erickson, the committees that you serve, on which you serve.
Well, I serve in the health. I'm the vice chairman of health and welfare. That's my passion committee.
Makes sense.
Then I'm judiciary and rules. So as I do a lot with juveniles in that space and protecting people and trying to keep people out of the systems of prisons.
Right.
So that committee has been a lot of work for me. And surprisingly, I introduced more bills in Judiciary and Rules Committee than in Health and Welfare over the years. And I thought, man, that's interesting. And I also serve on local government. And then I'm on the Joint Millennium Funds Committee with the Senate. It's a kind of a joint committee that does the tobacco funds. And in addition to that, I serve on a regional scale with 13 other Western states on the Education and Workforce Development Chairman for Council State Government. That's elected by my colleagues in other states. So it's a blessing to be able to do all
fantastic.
that. Yeah.
So Representative Erickson, I think what you said is kind of prescient because there is an intersection between the two committees on which you serve, the Health and Welfare and Judiciary and Rules, right? Because some of the issues, the health issues, wind up intersecting with some of the criminality or some of those elements. So
and
talk a little bit about that.
Too. There's a pipeline. They usually talk about a pipeline, education, prisons, and mental health and those issues all combined. Yeah. So it's important to just kind of understand how they work together and sync and try to find policies in each of those areas to make it where they can navigate their life a little easier. Yeah.
Tell people a little about why and how early on in your life you became really concerned with mental health and why you chose that profession. And then
good question.
And then how you're bringing that perspective, because it is a unique perspective, to the legislature.
Yeah, so really it started in my own home when I was a kid. I lost my dad at a really young age from alcoholism, drunk driving. And so I got involved in public service at around age 10, and I was very into it. I really loved it. And then I would serve in schools, and the school teachers were like, "You should become a teacher." And then I was like, "Well, maybe." I ran into this girl one time, and she was feeling suicidal, and I didn't know it at the time, but I helped her to keep her life. She stayed. She didn't die by suicide, and that was like, gosh, I'm pretty good at this. I have an intuition for people. And so I decided I'd pursue that mental health path. It's not designed to make you a bunch of money. It's more designed to just help the world around you. So I've found a great passion in serving, and just always have been able to, use my talents to serve the people.
And then how have you, you've been here, again, your third term. So how have you been able to use this either in this term or the last 2 terms? What kind of legislation have you brought to judiciary rules and to the health and welfare, maybe in the previous terms? And then we're going to talk about a couple of bills you're bringing this term.
Yeah, almost all of my legislation has been something related to helping people on some level. And so, there's so many, I couldn't talk about one, but I always am.
You have a favorite?
Well, helping create the juvenile assessment centers across the state is a kind of an upstream thing we did, which is designed to keep youth and juveniles out of the judiciary system. So it's really upstream. We call it upstream prevention. It's a little closer to the family unit, and that was a whole new system we created. And I also passed a bill to make it where it was like status offenses. We weren't following the federal rules, and so we got Idaho in compliance. Where if you're under age 21, for example, and you're caught drinking, you're not a criminal. You just made a bad choice, and if you were of age, that wouldn't have been a crime. So to find ways to intervene and help them make healthier decisions at a younger age and slow that process of potential addiction is what we focused on. So that's really great. And then they save money into the juvenile correction system and the adult correction system by reducing the likelihood that they'll be so interacted in there that they stay in there longer. And a lot of evidence shows if you get too much involved in that system, you're likely to stay in there, and it costs a lot more money long term. So that was a great achievement.
So how did the assessment program work, the juvenile assessment? How did that work?
Well, originally when we passed the law that says you can't throw them in jail for a status offense, there was a gap. Because they used to take a kid, for example, if they ran away from home, they were stuck in a detention center. That was how they handled it. Well, now they can bring them to a juvenile youth risk assessment center, and they can engage the parents and work on it from a more of a social worker perspective.
Right, reconciliation,
helping the family,
restoration of the family.
Yep, come up with solutions, come up with plans, and they have an advocate that's working on their behalf that's not the state, that's not the law enforcement. They're just people who really care about these youth. And so it's working really well across the state for that reason.
And that unique perspective is from your life's work.
And it saves a lot of money, because if you think about it, every time you send a kid to an adjudication proceeding, let's say they committed a small crime and you're prosecuting it, it costs you, the courts, $1,500. Versus in the assessment center, you can serve that same youth for 6 months, wrap around, having their family involved for $1,200 is the cost.
Oh, wow.
Because of staffing. And they set it up in a really great way. It's still working on the sustainability model for that, but we'll get there at some point.
Well, thank you for that work.
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
So talk about, there is a bill coming through the Jude and Rules Committee that you wanted to mention relative to the prison system, I believe.
Yeah, so this summer I had there was a news story that came out, and it was telling about some horrendous behavior that was happening on the part of our own guards. And so I wanted to meet with the individuals and figure out and ask them for myself.
Guards within the correction system.
Mm-hmm, yeah, okay. And so women that are in the women's correctional facility had reported that there had been cases where they had been being targeted by the men in a sexual manner. And so we looked into the law and we realized, wow, this law is kind of outdated. It needs to update. And so, so the updated language just makes sure that the littlest thing for sexual gratification of a guard is demonstrated that's inappropriate. And so we made sure that all the little things, were even kissing was included in that. It's a power dynamic. You're not to be doing that.
Right.
And so it's really clear now in the language, and hopefully that one will get through, and we'll be able to protect them a little bit more. And then next year we'll come with some additional things that we feel are needed, ways that they can report those kind of crimes from happening, and how Idaho State Police will get more involved, those kind of things. So we'll see what we could do to keep protecting
And what's
women.
the status of that bill?
It had an introduction hearing last week, and then in the near future we should have a hearing. We'll just
so it was a routing slip RS that got
Correct.
a bill number, and we should continue to monitor that.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, good job. Now let's pivot to something before we went on the podcast. You seem very fired up about America 250.
Oh yeah, I just love celebrating America for one, but it's an opportunity to celebrate together and unify the whole state. But in fact, they created a new song for Idaho.
They did, yes.
Yeah, and so
beautiful.
And that song is really my style of country music. So I'm going to be able to get the music. I got the music already, but I'll get the tracks and be able to perform it live in my area of the state a little bit more, and then do that with my daughter too. So that'll be real special because it requires a male and a female voice.
Right.
And we've been looking for a song we could do that's like kind of shared, because a lot of times I take the lead and she's more of a background, and it'll be cool to see her take the lead on some of the songs.
Yeah, it's co-lead. Yeah,
it's a co-lead song. I love it. So I'm looking forward to that.
How long have you been a musician?
I started playing in my garage when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I would just pluck along to good old Randy Travis songs or some old school country music. And
so music and mental health, long time in your life.
Yes, both of them.
And then I came to find out also that you were a radio disc jockey at one point.
Yeah, I did that in my young years. Yeah, fun.
What stations were you on, and what kind of formats?
It was there were 5 radio stations, but the main format was obviously country music. So I started it my first time. They put me on the overnights, and then they gave me the night show, which was 7 to midnight. And for a long time, I was in the top ratings. So,
fun.
For our market, a 100,000 watt station, and it goes several hundred miles. So people from all over, and people called me, and we had a great time on the radio. It was a lot of fun.
So let's the last topic is just talk a little bit about mental health in general. Where do you think Idaho does really well, and where would you like to see Idaho continue to progress in terms of the mental health of our citizens?
Well, I love that Idaho allows a lot of freedoms and a lot of outdoor things we can do. There's a lot of great beauty in our state to enjoy. I've been saying this since the beginning, is we wait until there's a crisis and we pay for that at a higher level and a higher price. And I call it the inverted V, is where we can, if we took and had some early investments in a lot more of the preventative tiers, we could serve more people for a cheaper cost. And we can prevent them from ever entering the system. So the way to do that scientific is you got to look at your current baseline and you measure it from there, because what's great is when they never enter the system, it's harder to measure them. And that's good. That's what we want. We don't want to see those people in those higher expensive systems, including like therapies and inpatient hospitalizations. And we've seen a rise in all of that recently. And the goal would be to reverse that. And we could do that through a lot of innovative ideas and trying some new things and invest in more of that money on the ground level, which slowly we're getting there. And I think we can do more.
Well, it makes so much sense, Representative Erickson, because if you can have a return on investment of how much dollars you spend, that's good for the taxpayer. But most importantly, it's a return on life, right? You're allowing that person that might have gone in the system to live a full and robust and healthy life. But also it's return on life for all the people that they may have caused havoc on as they grew older with the issues that they have. So, thank you for all the work you're doing in that. I mean, it's a thankless work. There's a lot of burden in it emotionally, psychologically for people that are involved in psychology, because you often hear just how hard things are for
stuff,
people.
Yeah.
But
the blessing is when we do make an impact on those people's lives and you see the flip side. And sometimes
Amen.
The thankless part, I've always, years later, some people have come and thanked me. Parents have. Just random people that had heard me speak somewhere or something about a topic. And it's fun. Those are the moments where it's all worth it, because you're like, wow, you turned out great. See, it wasn't anything we did other than we were just there to support them. They made those decisions. They really took the reins and ran with it. But we were part of the team that helped shape that, and that's the great blessing that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, God uses his people for his good, and so thank you for being part of the plan.
Happy to do it.
We've been visiting with Representative Marco Erickson. Thank you for joining us on the Idaho House Republicans podcast. Until we see you next time, as we always say, God bless the great state of Idaho. And again, thank you, Representative Marco Erickson from Legislative District 33.
Thank you.
Sunrise on the Snake River Plain, red, white, and blue in the window pane. Work boots dusty from yesterday, but we're back at it the Idaho way.